Guys, Factor Technology helps folks, especially consultants in the well and drilling industry, understand how to map these wells at scale, right? Using a different kind of technology. They want to focus on getting more well bore in the pay zone, as Hugh said it. They're working with half dozen customers today. Bootstrapped, which we love, launched in 2017, hoping to break $1 million in revenue next year. We'll see what happens. Hey folks, my guest today is Hugh Winkler. He is trained as a geophysicist and experienced in web architecture. He invented a technique for well positioning using machine learning technology. With two partners, he founded Factor Technology to commercialize this technique. They acquired their first early adopters in 2022, and he previously founded Wellstrom, which is acquired by Enverus, which is Drilling Info, in 2012. Hugh, you ready to take us to the top?
You bet.
All right. So I guess tell us about this technology and why do people care about what is in a well?
Well, everybody's drilling horizontal wells since, for the last 2 decades. And, for the last 20 years, people have been kind of using an ad hoc sort of heuristic method to position them. So you drill it down 2 miles and then you drill it across 2 miles, and you want to stay in the formation that you're targeting. And they've got various methods for keeping it in the formation while they go 2 miles laterally.
What's the most popular formation before what you've invented?
The popular formation.
Sorry, not formation, technique to stay in the formation. So you're going down 2 miles and across 2 miles. What's the most popular?
Geosteering. They call it, there's directional drilling, and geosteering is what guides directional drilling. And so the geosteerer is usually trained in geology, reads measurements that they take downhole, and he sort of uses his intuition and his knowledge, and historically uses some desktop computer assistance, but also the seat of his pants to keep the well, in the target formation. And this has worked pretty great for the last 20 years. It's not that it's failing, but it turns out that it's a big stress on an individual having to do this job. And so every 20 minutes you get some new measurements in, and you've got to read some wiggly lines on a screen that are measurements and figure out what that means as far as the geology. And then, if you make a wrong decision, you've steered your wellbore out of the productive zone and possibly into a hazard that could cause you to, a very expensive sidetrack. So it's a high stress decision that people have been making.
Yeah. And you've got, sorry, Hugh, just to dumb this down for folks that don't know the well and drilling business, really well. So ExxonMobil is drilling something new. They're fracking whatever in Texas. They'll pay someone to go out and do this drilling to understand what the economic opportunity is before they spend all the money to actually do the drilling. Is that what's at stake here? That's what you help with?
This is actually during doing the drilling part.
Okay.
They're exploiting the field and they're drilling all these horizontal wells. And they've gone out and made a map of what they think the target zone looks like, but nobody, you can't see what's 10,000 feet down under the surface. So they're blind. And as they're drilling along, they try to use these electronic measurements downhole to determine where they are geologically.
Interesting. And what forgive me for my naivete here, but if you go down two miles, you're going to hit, a slice, right? That is, I'm going to make this up, 300 feet deep of, frackable oil or whatever. Why do you need to know what the pattern is, left, right? Why can't you just keep sucking from the same spot?
Why do you have to go to the
horizontal?
Why do you have to go horizontally? If the more well bore that you can expose to the formation, the more oil you'll produce out of there. Because the kind of formations they're producing in Texas mostly now are no longer the rich, flowing ones, with gushers. That doesn't happen much anymore. What happens now is that they have a little trickle coming in only after they fracture the well. So you drill this 2 mile horizontal hole through that pay zone, and hopefully your whole wellbore is in the pay zone.
Interesting. So your argument is pay for our software. We're going to help you make more money by spending less money as you exploit these, much smaller pay zone areas.
There you go. You'll have more wellbore in the pay.
Interesting.
Oh, what's going on there, YouTube? Good to see you guys. Now imagine this. You love watching these interviews with SaaS founders, but imagine if we took all of the valuation data out from over 2,807 interviews I've done manually. Saves you a lot of time. Well, we've done this. We've built it into the beautiful interface inside of FounderPath. Check this out. I'll show you how you can access this in a second, but you log in, you connect your Stripe account, you see your valuation real time, you can see what it changed over the past 88 days, and even set goals for valuation this year. Now, the secret to valuation is there's many different ways to value a SaaS business. So the reason you're going to see 3 or 4 different valuations inside of your FounderPath dashboard, this is all free by the way, is because depending on who's doing the buying of your SaaS company, you're going to get a different valuation. A VC is going to pay a different valuation. Private equity firm is different. If you're going to do a minority sale, that's different. And if you sell the whole business, that's a different valuation. You can see all those when I hover over here. Right, so the teal is what a VC would pay, yellow is what private equity, and red is if you sold the whole thing outright. Now, what's cool about this is not built off random data. Again, you guys hear these interviews on YouTube. All these data are built from real-time valuation data points founders share with us on the show. So traction, 1.2 million, seed round, 3.7 raise, they sold 22% of their business. Go in here and filter by the event. Maybe you only want to see companies that have sold the whole business. Well, here are a bunch that have been acquired, the valuation and the multiple. Maybe you're going out right now and you're raising your seed round. Well, go in here and look at all this recent seed deals that went down, what they raised, what valuation they raised at, and what percent that they sold. There's never been a larger data set of SaaS valuations than what you can get now inside of FounderPath, and we're thrilled to bring it to you. All right, we're going to go back to the YouTube video here in a second, but if you want to check this tool out, if you want to jump in and sign up, you can check it out for free to get your valuation at this link, founderpath.com/products/valuations. Or if you go to founderpath.com and hover over products, click on get your valuation here and go ahead and sign up to give it a whirl. Again, all that valuation data live right inside the platform. I hope to see you there. All right, let's jump back into the interview.
So who's using you? I mean, you mentioned ahead of the call that you're selling to like financial institutions. Is this more a research tool for hedge funds, or is it actually being used in the field by, ExxonMobil or someone like Exxon?
Oh, no. This is all about, these are for operators and their consultants. So so we've got one top 10 US company using the software and several smaller consultancies. So a lot of these big companies outsource this function because it's a person has to stay up all night watching screens, and they don't like to do it themselves. So they outsource the job to workers, who work in shifts, watch the screens, take the measurements in, guide the wells. And so that's the way it's been done historically. And now we're trying to convince people that instead of outsourcing it, this menial sort of all-night work, you can automate the process by feeding the data directly into our software, setting alerts. We compute the answer instead of just, nobody has to make a lot of judgment calls. When you're
and Hugh, what are you billing against? Like, are you billing against number of miles tracked, size of payload area? Like, how do you bill?
Similar. It's a day rate.
Okay.
Every day you use the software, you pay a certain amount.
Okay. What if I am cheap and I want to take advantage of your software as much as possible? So I just do all my work in one day, then I'm done. Well,
that's possible, and I encourage you to do that. But you can't. If you're, for instance, if you have a well that you want to know what happened to it retrospectively, you drilled it last week and you want to know whether it's in zone or out of zone, you could do that. But while you're drilling the well, you want constant updates. So pretty much a user is going to use it while they're in the lateral and pay us per day as you extend the well. So that could be 5 to 10 days.
So is it just per day rate, or what if I'm using you daily across 10 wells? Do I also pay a per well rate?
We have a enterprise edition as well that doesn't work on a day rate, so it works on a package. And then we sit there with this is for the majors and large U.S. oil companies, and they'll, they know what their drilling program is going to be for the next quarter, for the next 4 quarters, really. And,
Measured by what, though? Do they know that? They forecast that based off number of wells, or what's the unit measurement?
They have leases they have to exploit within a certain amount of time, because they have to drill these leases once they've leased them to keep them under lease, actually. So they know, and they have to contract with the drilling contractors ahead of time. So they're able to come to us and say, we're going to drill 40 wells this next quarter. What's our package?
And do you charge everybody, no matter the customer, the same day rate?
The enterprise has a different rate.
I see.
Enterprise gets a lot more service. They have the regular day rate people are willing to stick their credit card in, and
okay, so it is a credit card sale. It's like $10 a day or something like that.
Well, it's $90 a day, but
not
it's
90.
90, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's suitable for these consultancies that are, they don't have a lot of bureaucracy. They're not public companies. But if you're a public company, you're asking a lot more of us. And one of the things you're asking is compliance. So we're SOC 2, Type 1 and Type 2 compliant. And we're, and additionally, as a big enterprise, you have a bunch of automation in the field, so that unlike the small consultancies, you've got continuous data feeds coming in. So you're running the software not intermittently, but continuously.
Mm-hmm. And who's we? How many folks are on your team today?
There's 6 of us.
6 of you. Okay. And how are you the engineer?
3 founders, 3 founding partners, and an advisor, and a couple of programmers, and an intern.
Do you program?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So 3 engineers, including you. You're one of the 3 co-founders. Were you guys nice at the beginning? You just split the pie equally, or what?
At the beginning, yes. And
Something
now we've been self-funding for the last several years, so the ratios have diverged a little bit.
I see. So can I decode that? If you decide to put in your own money, you might get more equity because you put in more of your own capital to fund.
Sure.
I see. Okay, so you are bootstrapped today, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Why'd you make that decision? A lot of people choose to raise.
Well, at first we did go out and pitch everywhere, and we got a lot of response, and then COVID happened, and then oil went to minus $40 a barrel, and nobody wanted to talk to us about anything for a while. And we wanted to keep the company going. So we just decided to keep it going, and we would maybe change it into a little, instead of being a big vision company, because this technology is pretty unique in the industry. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think it's been, understood yet. I mean, by many, but we do have people who understand it. But I think it'll eventually prevail, so that in 5 years, nobody's manually doing geosteering the old way.
Yep.
They might not be using our software, but I think in 5 years, people will all be doing it in this computed, automated fashion that we're pioneering. So
Understood.
We didn't want to leave it. We couldn't leave the company, and we decided to keep it going. And we nursed along a couple of little tiny customers, consultancies, and
Hugh, how many customers are you working with today? Is it still like a handful, 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, half a dozen.
Okay. And we never asked actually when you launched.
One of them is a giant, $20 billion. We do have a giant $20 billion company, so I feel good about that.
When did you launch the business? What year?
97. 2017.
I was supposed to say holy mackerel.
2017.
All right, so
Yeah.
2017.
Startup.
Yeah. 6 customers. And I guess how do one benefit of SaaS is you have predictable revenues, so you can hire knowing you can pay salaries. But if you're charging a day rate, I guess I imagine it's really hard to predict if someone's going to use you, next week or not. How do you try and create predictability in your revenue stream?
Well, we haven't really had to, that hasn't been, we're not profitable yet. So we're not, we would like to just have a revenue stream first. And I'll worry about predictability after that.
Well, don't you potentially have to change your pricing model? That's sort of my point, right? $90 a day, if people can turn an offer on so easy, it's really hard to build a recurring stream.
Well, yes, of course, but don't you love it as a customer? The ability to pay for just what you use?
Well, I think if that was the case, you'd have more than 6 customers.
Yeah. Well, I think what we're doing is you have to adopt. So we're going to transition, we're hoping to sell more of these enterprise systems, but, that was sort of our strategy as we crossed the little COVID chasm.
Yep.
Was to just keep the company going and just try to get users. And we don't care how we get them.
Yep. How did you get your last customer? Can you tell me the story?
We went out and recruited a consultancy that we talked to pretty closely. I go and visit them. I didn't get them through the internet. Now, actually, I did. If you mean my very last, every few days we get a new trial. And I think that our software requires a sort of a change of workflow for a lot of these consultancies. So they need a high touch experience with us. And so far we're really, one thing I would say, the arm's length approach is not giving us that ability to go in and coach them and bring them along. So I think we lose customers through not understanding how to use the software.
Understood. What are your goals? Do you think you can break $1 million of revenue this year?
No.
What year do you have a plan for? What year you're targeting?
Next year.
Next year. Okay, cool. And listen, we're rooting for you. We hope it works. I love a niche product like this. So especially Bootstrapped. So on that note here, let's wrap up with the famous 5. Number 1, your favorite book.
God, this is one I just read. How about that? I just read Julian by Gore Vidal.
Okay. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
Oh, God. No, but my favorite CEO in the world was Alan Gilmer, the CEO of Embarrass.
Interesting. Embarrass. Okay. Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for coding?
Oh, well, I hate to say Visual Studio Code, but that's sort of the
That's fair.
standard.
That's fair. Hugh, number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night? Sleep. How many hours of sleep?
6.
6. Okay. And situation, married, single, kids?
Married, no kids.
No kiddos. And how old are you?
65.
Last question. Something you wish you knew when you were 20.
It's all going to work out.
Guys, Factor Technology helps folks, especially consultants in the well and drilling industry, understand how to map these wells at scale, right? Using a different kind of technology. They want to focus on getting more well bore in the pay zone, as Hugh said it. They're working with 6 customers, half dozen customers today. Bootstrapped, which we launched in 2017, hoping to break $1 million in revenue next year. We'll see what happens. Hugh, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thank you, Nathan.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers. They try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue,
ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.